is time to actually get some new bearings in this guy here. Let me show you a little bit about what happened to it real quick as a recap. See if I can get some light on this here. Here we go. This side over here is the one you can actually see. See where the bearing had come apart. Right there. So I'm not going to replace all the bearings, just probably just the ones here on the wheels. We'll start with those. I did get a pack of Fast Eddy. That's for the entire truck here. So I have bearings that I can, change everything out that I need, but I'm just going to start with the ones that broke. I'm a big fan of, leaving things kind of how they are. I'll do some upgrading, but this truck here, I love the way that it performs the way it is now. So I don't really want to change too much of that. I just want to fix what's broken, so that's what we're going to do. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I pulled the nut off here. We're going to pull this tire off, see how bad it really is underneath there. Hex and stuff looks fine, so we'll just move on here. And it's dirty from the last bash. We'll have to get this off, and you can see the outer bearing there as well is not doing so good. So I'll definitely be taking these off for sure. I think the best way to do this is probably going to be going to have to take the top, whatever that thing's called, the pillow ball or whatever, take that off, and then maybe take this arm off so I can just kind of slide it out of the way or down or whatever. So let's get to that. Now these pillow ball retainer nuts or whatever they're called here, they take I think this is a 5mm. Let me look here real quick. Let's see. Yeah, it's a number 5 on the metric, to take the retainer off there. And most of you probably don't have, like the hobby handle grade stuff that's that size. I know I don't. So that's why I'm using a regular Allen key. So we'll get this one off here, and we'll see what's underneath. Now you'll notice when you take these off how it has this little washer right there. That's to keep stuff out of here, and as you can see, it does an okay job, but you're still going to get stuff in there, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just make sure you don't lose that when you set it to the side. And then once you do get it off, there is another hex inside there, and that is for this piece attached to here. So just take note on how far everything is in. This one's actually all the way in, so I'm not going to worry about it. I think I'll focus. It's all the way in. I'm not going to worry about it, so I know to just crank it back in when I'm done. So let me get the size of that, and we'll get that off. Okay, so this one is going to be a 2.5mm size, and the camera has trouble focusing sometimes. But basically you just unscrew it, and that'll come right off of there. And then if you look over here, the other piece that I'm going to take off is also a 2.5mm. So get it around here where you can see. So this is going to be fairly easy, fairly quick fix. So if anybody's all worried about the bearings and stuff like that, yeah, they're pain in the ass, but it is what it is. Sometimes stuff coming from factory, they use cheaper parts just to get it out there, and that's probably what happened here. And I don't mind replacing the bearings. I think it cost me every bit of 20 bucks. So that's what we're going to do here now. Now when you pull these apart, if I can get this to focus there, you'll notice that you have a washer on the end down there, and then you also have like a plastic washer where the pillow ball actually fits in there. When you're checking everything, just make sure that the condition of this here is not destroyed. You don't have pits. The plastic or whatever is actually in good condition. If not, you'll want to replace that, because that's kind of what gives you a lot of slop a lot of times on these armor vehicles. So just make sure you put everything back the same way, and you'll be fine. And I might not even have to take off this other piece over here, because when I did, it kind of collapsed it pretty good. I think I can get the CV out the way it sits. We're going to check it out. Okay, so this is actually going to be an easier fix. Basically all I have to do now is pull the hex nut or whatever the hell you call that end piece is there off, and the way you do that is you push out the pin here and you remove the grub screw inside there so it doesn't lock the pin. You don't have to remove it all the way, just back it out to where that pin will come out, and then you take the pin out and you slide this out, and then the whole shaft will go out of here. Now the easiest way I found to do this is you just take a set of pliers. Sometimes you can get the wrench over there and use it and match it up there, and then put the hex driver through the wrench itself, because it does have a hole that goes through it. But a lot of times they won't line up all the way, or your hex driver isn't long enough or whatever. So again, this is a 2.5 millimeter for the grub screw there, and you just want to loosen it up. After you get that loose, all you got to do is take something smaller, like 1.5 millimeter or whatever, which is what I used here, and just push on where the pin's at, and it'll come right through the other side. And you just kind of work it through, and it'll come right out of there. And then you just pull this off. Should come off fairly easy. There you go. Just, inspect everything when you take it apart and make sure everything is good. Make sure your pin isn't bent, any of that jazz. So that's all you're really doing here. Now when you take these off, take notice if you ever change these hex, whatever these things are called, this one here has a lip that sits out, I don't know, 3 or 4 millimeters, something like that, 2 millimeters, whatever it is there. If you ever go to replace these, make sure that the ones that you have has this same lip, because the reason that it has that lip, I know a lot of guys don't explain this, is on your bearing there, it rides on the inner part instead of the outer part, so it doesn't create binding. So that's the whole reason for the lip on these, at least on this model anyway. Now all we're going to do is just kind of work this out. Hopefully the bearing doesn't fall out the bottom there. So we're just going to kind of pull out the CV. Should come out fairly easy. Doing it one-handed is obviously a little bit harder, but there you go. And then you can see the bearing that got trashed. And the inside, if we can get a good focus on it here. There we go. The inside there, you'll have to get whatever's remaining on the inside out. Looks like there's a part of a race in there. And then basically it's just swap out from here. Now the way that I like to do this when I'm matching up bearings, this is the old race that was all jacked up. I'll just take it and I'll line it up, and as you can see, those are the right bearings there. There's only 4 that comes in this kit, so that's for the knuckle. And then there are more of these bearings here, so you just line them up. We're only going to need 4 of them because we're just doing the wheels, but that does have another, what, 5, 6 of these other bearings there, and then it comes with the smaller ones as well, and 2 larger, thicker ones. This is for other stuff here, so this is probably for your differentials, and these might be for your differential as well. And then you got 2 of these guys here. I'm not sure which ones go where, but we're not going to replace them all anyway. We're just doing the back here. Again, this is super simple, so you just take one of your bigger bearings there and you plop it inside there. You don't have to worry about which side because they're both the same. Usually you would have like the ceramic side on one side or the other. Make sure that you got everything out of there, which I did, and then you basically just pop it into place, into the plastic, like so. Really simple. You do the same thing for the one on the outside. Plop it in here. It just fits right in, and that's nice and tight too, by the way. So that tells me that that other bearing was getting ready to fail as well. And then all you do is you slide the shaft back in and do everything in reverse. Alright, so that's what it looks like when it's all reinstalled. Pretty easy. And then we've got to put everything back together, you know, basically in reverse of the way that we took it apart. So let's get everything back together and I'll show you what it all looks like. Okay, so this is all back together now, and as you can see, it went together really easy. A little note about working this stuff into the plastic here. You want it snug, but you don't want to over tighten, because this is plastic, that is metal. It will strip out the inside if you're not careful. Same with this little outside piece here that holds everything together for the pillow ball. You just want to make sure that everything, like that little washer right there, doesn't want to stay in there properly. So I'll probably run that back out and then run it back in until I get it right. But basically you want to line these up to where it's not going to strip out here, because they're very, very easy to strip. So when you line them up, you just kind of get them straight, put it in by finger tight or whatever, and if it starts to be tight at all, you've got it in wrong. So take it out, redo it until you get it right. And I finally got mine set right. All I had to do is take it out one time, reseat the little rubber O-ring that's in there, and we're good to go. And again, you want it tight, but you don't want it like cranked down either. If you get it tight enough without overdoing it, and what I mean by tight, by overdoing it, it's kind of hard to explain. If your inner piece inside here is in good shape, the outside piece here you won't have to crank too hard on. You want to get it snug, and then maybe just a touch beyond that, just to where it kind of holds it in, because that's all that really holds that in place here is this plastic piece. You strip that out and you're going to have to be replacing the whole knuckle here, or C-hub, or whatever they call that. So that's it, man. So we're going to get the wheel back on this side. I'm going to do the other 4 there off camera, because it's basically the same process, except for the rear. The only thing you're going to do different on the rear is you're going to take off that top arm there, probably at the knuckle, and then the dog bone will pop out down at the bottom. That's the only thing that's different here, is this has CV, so this piece is all connected and that piece is all separated. So that's the only real difference in the two, front and rear. Now this is the rear, and I know it's a little bit different, but there's nothing to it. You can either take off the one here on the bottom, which has a nut on the other side and a screw, or you can take the one off on the top. I'm probably just going to do the top. It's just as easy, and I'll let it hang. So we'll get the hex off here, or the whatever this is called, the hex nut or whatever. Same process as the front, and then we'll take the nut and bolt off the top here, and it'll just slide down, and then we'll be able to get everything out. Now to get the top part off of here, you'll need a 2mm hex driver, and then your wheel wrench that came with the kit. Now once you pop the top off there, you'll notice that you have a dog bone here. It is not like the CV. You'll notice one side is thicker than the other. The thicker side goes in here, the thinner side goes into your differential cup, and there you go. So just keep that in mind. And then all you do to get this piece out is you just pop it out, and this little part comes right out of there. Again, just check and make sure nothing's broke or messed up or anything like that. So you take that out, and then again you pop the bearings out, one on each side, and replace them with the others. Now when you take the top piece off here, if you do it the way that I did it, make sure that you take note of the location on which hole this was originally set at. Mine was at the top right if you're looking at the back of it, and if you're looking at the other side it would be top left. So just take note of the location of it so you can put it back exactly the same way. Alright, so here is what came off of the Fireteam. I did have a grub screw that started to strip out on me, but I caught it in time and used an actual standard size to get it out. These are the outer bearings. They look like they're fairly decent, but if you feel them, they feel pretty dry. Here's the inner ones, and they are all super dry. Here's the one that pretty much exploded. You see what's left of the pieces. All the bearing, or the ball bearings inside are gone. I don't know what kind of bearings that they used on these, but they're definitely cheap. That would be my only complaint about this truck. But again, it didn't take me 20 minutes to change these out. It's a fairly easy fix. It cost me about 20 bucks. And you know, when you're getting something like this anyway, you got to expect a little bit of, you know, work that you're going to have to do to it regardless. So I'm not too hurt by it. I mean, I wish they would come from factory, you know, better condition, but you know, it is what it is. And again, I'm not that hurt by it. So once again, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, help the channel grow, If you like more videos like this, just post below. Tell me what you want to see. I've got all kinds of stuff in the back here, and maybe I'll get something else in the future. So again, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.